Hello there. Welcome to Christopher's Weekly History Topics, Week 15. This is for week April 7th to the 13th. Now, this week I'm doing the French and Indian War. One thing before I begin, though, I'm not going over everything of the French and Indian War. I'm just going over a few main points. I'm not going over the entire war because that would be too ridiculous to go over how the war started all the way to the Treaty of Paris in 1763. I'm just going to point out some of the big key factors of the war and some of the consequences of the war as far as the French are concerned, and some of the gains of the war as far as the British are concerned, and how the American Revolution that happens years after it is connected to it. So anyway, with the French and Indian War, there were mainly three European powers centered in North America for control. First, you have the Spanish. They have like a big Spanish empire in both North and South America. Then you have the French. The French have a very big territory, like in the Mississippi, Ohio Valley, and in Canada as well. And then you have the British, which have mainly control of like the coastal eastern coast, basically, of North America. How this all starts out and stuff. In 1747, the French have control of the Ohio River Valley, basically. And this is a big factor as far as war. This is a big factor as far as trade. You know, if you're in control of a big valley, then you're basically good with trade, you're good with economics and stuff like that. Um, the French, at this point, hold this territory, the Ohio Valley, and the British Company is called the British Ohio Company of Virginia. It's called. It really wants to settle in this region to basically use it for commercial reasons, for settlement reasons, and stuff like that. And the French really don't like that. They see this as a threat. They see this as something that's not good. And then you fast forward to 1754. This is really one major key factor in the war as far as I would say America is concerned. In 1754, the royal governor of Virginia sends he seizes he sends a militia to seize this fort in the region in the Ohio River Valley, where, as you know, it goes down to Virginia. Um, there is a French fort, and the British want to kick the French out. So the royal governor of Virginia sends a militia to destroy and kick out the French, basically. And he uses this. It's like a militia. It's not really British soldiers, like British grenadier soldiers, basically going out to fight the French in this region. It's basically using British colonists, like American colonists in the region, to basically form a militia and defend the crown, from the French. So they do this, and it works. They attack the French successfully, and as you know, the French had Native American allies. They defeat also the Native American allies of the French as well as the French. And also, the British had their own, allies too. Then again, in 1755, the British try to seize another French fort in the region, but they fail to. Um, I don't know why they fail. It, I don't know. They just failed. Then again, a few years later, like 3 years later, in 1758, Britain sends British forces from Britain to basically attack the French. They're going to attack two French, I would say, cities that are really important to grab, which is Quebec City in Quebec and Montreal. These are basically the center of French Canada, And if you're going to attack an enemy to get their land, where would you mostly attack? At the heart of their resources and at the heart of their center. So for French Canada, that heart and center is both Quebec City and Montreal. So you attack the cities, they crumble, then voila, you get French Canada. Um, this attack on French Canada continues up until 1860, and not 1860, sorry, in 1760. Getting a little confused there. I don't want to get too ahead of schedule. In 1760, Montreal falls to the British, and French Canada starts to fall soon after Montreal falls, and French dominance in Canada isn't as strong as it once was. And this leads to, 3 years later, in 1763, the Treaty of Paris, which basically ends France's colonial empire in the North American continent, and it gives Britain all of like Canada and the Ohio Valley. So they get like Quebec, they get Montreal, they get the Ohio River Valley, they get Ohio, stuff like that. And this is disastrous to the French. Now, even though the British have won, though, this is not all hip hip and cheers for the British, basically, as, I don't know, something funny. But anyway, the British have their problems too after this war. It's not just the French that are like, okay, we lost, we're horrible, the British, they're not going, yay, we won, hooray, yes, everything's fine. Everything is not fine, even though the British have won. The French and Indian War was really expensive to the British, and as you know, wars are expensive, and they have to pay out, and they have to replace what they put out. And one of the main reasons why the American Revolution follows the French and Indian War is because that if Britain wins taxes, where's it going to get those taxes? Well, in Britain's mind, it's going to think, say, why don't we ask the colonies that we helped to protect from the French to help pay money that we lost from the war? Well, then the colonies don't like it, and this leads to the American Revolution, basically. And you can see how the French and Indian War is basically, after that, it gives way to the American Revolution because Britain just had this expensive war, it needs to pay for it. And it's like, hey, I got an idea. We have all this land in the New World. Why don't we tax them and get the money? And they're like, hey, they won't mind because we just, save them from the evil French, the evil Catholic French. So they'll love us and they'll be glad to pay for their safety. Well, the British got wrong, and we have the American Revolution. But that's a whole other topic to discuss. So anyway, that's basically the basics of the French Revolution. If you have any questions, you can comment. I know that I didn't go through all of the war, and I might not have explained everything. But if you have any questions, you can put them down in the comment, and I'll gladly answer them the best I can.